Does God exist or is God dead? Yes, this is the most controversial theme in philosophy, and I tell you, I've been trying to figure this out when I was a student 20 years ago when I was obsessed reading Dostoevsky. I wanted to understand God logically and rationally because I thought there was something novel and truth inside, and not just simply from a religious standpoint. But when I read this book written by Dr. Tomabechi, who's a neuroscientist and an outstanding genius, I was able to understand logically the reason why God is dead. Just a disclaimer, this doesn't mean denying any religion. There are always profound values in every religion. In this video, I will focus on how mathematicians came up to the conclusion on why something absolute doesn't exist, and if so, what kind of values should we live with the future? First of all, humans are fundamentally religious. This is because humans are imperfect. We all know that we don't know everything in the world. We have fear against what we don't understand and wish to overcome fear such as death and the future. You could say that we are an incomplete information system. This makes us desperate and weak and fearful. We naturally start adoring and seeking for a perfect information system. We start believing that there must be something out there that is absolute. We need a story that can ease the fear. A perfect story and information that an imperfect human can never experience, such as what is life after death. Every religion has perfect stories inside the dogma. Humans' religious faith was developed in a way to always get closer to the perfect information called God. Now let's dig into how physicists and mathematicians came up to the conclusion on why God is dead. There are two most crucial discoveries when we talk about the existence of God. 1. Uncertainty principle. This principle was advocated by Heisenberg in 1927. Now, for those who hate math or science, stick with me because I'm gonna explain the essence in a way that even a child can understand. When you try to take the temperature of a hot water, do you think you can measure it precisely? The hot water has a certain temperature, but we don't know what it is. And the thermometer which we need to measure the temperature of the hot water contains a certain temperature as well. So when you put the thermometer in the hot water slightly changes its temperature and therefore you can't measure it correctly. This is the basic concept of Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Every measurement influences the measurement result, so it's impossible to definitely measure anything. In quantum theory, particles exist only in probability. When you drop some money from the top of the building, would you know where it will land? The higher the building is from the ground, the probability for the money to land in a certain place is low. In other words, the randomness is high. In modern physics, every phenomenon in this world is based on probability. Even if you create a form of vacuum, there's always a certain possibility that particles will be created in it. The second important discovery is incompleteness theorems. Let me explain this simply. An axiom is something like when A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. What is a theorem? Pythagorean theorem is one of them. When a triangle has a right angle 90 degrees and squares are made on each of the three sides, then the biggest square has the exact same area as the other two squares put together. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A system contains all these axioms and theorems. Two conditions are needed for a system to be defined as a system. Number 1. Propositions that contradict with each other must not be inside the system. Obviously, when this happens, the system collapses. Number 2. There must not be a proposition that is unprovable. When these two conditions are met, the system is perfect. In 1931, a 25-year-old youngster, Kurt Gödel, came up with a proposition that can't be proved. The perfection of the system collapsed because now there's a proposition inside the system that can't be proved right. To simplify, what he did is similar to the liar's paradox. Suppose David said, "I said in my alarm, every man is a liar." Is David telling the truth or is he lying? If it is true that every man is a liar, and David's statement every man is a liar is true, then David also is lying. He too is a man. But if he too is lying, his statement every man is a liar consequently is not true. Whatever way you turn the proposition, the conclusion is a contradiction. Since David himself is a man, it follows that he also is lying. But if he is lying because every man is a liar, his lying is of a different sort. Gödel proved the same thing occurs in mathematics. He proved there's a proposition that can't be proved right or wrong, which means the whole system is incomplete. But Gödel's incompleteness theorem was limited to relatively smaller systems, so it wasn't enough to prove that the whole system is incomplete. Gregory Chaitin, a mathematician and computer scientist, discovers that in the algorithmic information theory field, similar phenomenon occurs to Gödel's incompleteness theorem. By using Lisp, which is a programming language, he discovers that everything contains randomness and nothing is decided in advance. To simplify here as well, he proved that even if you build a computer program and prove that there's no bug in the program, there's a possibility that there's a bug in the programming language itself. Means if the theory in physics is perfectly right, there's a possibility that the written language mathematics itself has a bug. Mathematics is the most purely written language for natural science and social science. Chaitin's proof of the incompleteness of mathematics means all academics are incomplete. Means a perfect system doesn't exist in this world. Now, this has a great deal with the problem of God. A philosopher of religion named Patrick Grimm proved the non-existence of God. Now, we need to be careful of what this means. Just if you define God as an omniscient and omnipotent and a perfect system, Grimm proved by mathematics that God doesn't exist by applying Gödel-Chaitin theorem. He says even if a system called God exists, there's definitely a possibility of inconsistency in God, and there will always be a theorem in the system that can't be proved. And if that's the case, there is no God. Now, in order to overrule Grimm's theorem, you need to prove that Gödel-Chaitin theorem is wrong. And in order to do this, you need to prove that mathematics is perfect, which is impossible. Again, this doesn't mean people who believe in God and have their religion is wrong or anything. But let's case study the difference. Suppose a child died in an accident. In some religions, this would mean that this was God's will and there should be a reason behind because a God is omniscient and omnipotent and this was decided beforehand. But the argument in modern physics and science is that there isn't a thing that was determined beforehand because there isn't a perfect system and everything occurs by accident. Based on science, it's known that when someone has mystical experience and experiences God, this is because the mind processes the information incorrectly and created the information of God in the mind. The reason why humans seek for salvation in God is because the world is incomplete, uncertain, and people feel deep fear. Gödel was a Christian and suffered after he proved incompleteness theorems. He couldn't accept the fact that he proved the non-existence of God and spend the rest of his life trying to prove that God does exist. In his later years, he became insane and starved to death at a mental hospital. Chaitin also wrote in the last part of his paper that he proved such a dark thing. Here, you can see that for believers of God, there's a big amount of pain to accept the non-existence of God. But having said that, let's move on to what we can learn from all of this. When we talk about religion, it's not only the story about God. Many things have religious phenomenon. For example, capitalism. In capitalism, money is God, and people believe money is the perfect something. Death penalty. When there's a perfect reason backed up by law, killing a human is justified. Fighting for the country. Here, war and killing other people is justified when the nation needs to defend their interests. A war always happens by brainwashing the people that there is only one single value in the world. Any thought in this world that contains a single absolute value should be called a religion. The 20th century was the battle between different absolute values. The two world wars, the Cold War, wars between civilizations, wars to make people believe that only one single value is absolutely right eventually led to conflicts and confrontations. But for whose happiness? For the nation's interest? There isn't any value that is absolutely right. There is no distinction or ranking in the values people possess. Wouldn't it be a beautiful world if every single human being acknowledges each other's value with mutual respect and not pushing their value on what is right or what is wrong? Thank you for watching. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, I would appreciate if you could click the like button. Do you believe in God? If yes, why? When I was a student in university, I liked thinking and talking about what is God and does God exist. Please post your comments below because I would really love to hear your opinion. In this channel, I do summary of Japanese best-selling business and self-development books. My passion is to introduce exciting Japanese books that are full of wisdom to the world. If you're interested, please consider subscribing so that you don't miss the new videos coming up. If you're interested in Buddhism, there's another video that I made called What is Enlightenment in Buddhism? So don't forget to check that out too. Have a nice day. Bye bye.